in Singapore, I guess the most prestigious form of winning in all sports is the Olympics, right? But every time when you think about Singapore winning the Olympics, I guess our attention is caught onto the table tennis. But the issue when you think about table tennis is that they are not exactly won by, as in they are foreign talents. And I think that creates a negative impression into parents because even our best athletes are not truly from Singapore. Do you think that this is a major problem in terms of when foreign talents actually win for Singapore, and that actually doesn't help in the whole positive attitude towards sports in altogether?
I think this was the toughest question I was waiting for. Basically, I mean, it applies to foreign talent at large in Singapore, right? How much of it has to do with the fact that we want to feel that our greatest heroes are born here, that just because their parents did not, the mother never give birth on Singapore soil, I'm not proud of you, you're not Singaporean? Is it really that? Is that really the case? My great-grandparents didn't come from Singapore. Was that a problem? Does it make me not qualified to write about Singapore sports? I think that problem lies more within ourselves and how we perceive the people who come here and make a living. Where we came from, where we're going to be. And a lot of it has to do with how these athletes integrate in Singapore society. So you've seen like the table tennis girls, I remember after the World Team Championships, when they beat China in 2010, they actually beat China in the final. Now that got the Chinese very, very upset because obviously, they never lost in table tennis for many years. But when they came back to Singapore at Changi Airport, I mean, there were some people there to receive them, but by and large, there were very few people who cared that they actually had beaten the world champions to the world championships. So a lot of it, I think, has to do with the instinctive reaction towards xenophobia. I mean, there's no easy way to put it, right? If someone isn't born here, that makes that person not Singaporean. But we are Chinese Singaporeans, we are Malay Singaporeans, we are Indian Singaporeans. So why does that make them any different? Especially if they've been here for more than a decade in some cases, Yes, some of them may not speak like us, they may not eat exactly the same food, but they live here, they made their home here, they decided, Singapore does not have dual citizenship. It's not as if they are China Singaporeans. They're not Chinese, they're not from China, they're not Chinese citizens anymore. They've chosen to give up their citizenship for a Singapore one, right? So, it's not a case of them saying, any point in time I can always revert back to my Chinese citizenship. It's taking up Singapore citizenship is serious business. In badminton, there was this case once of this young boy from Indonesia. He came here at a very young age, and I think when it was about 18, they asked him, do you want to be Singaporean or not? Because he was living here, he was training here, we were paying for him, we were training him obviously, and when faced with the choice of taking up Singapore citizenship, he said, you know what, no thanks. So, is that the fault of the Singapore Badminton Association, or is that the fault of the athlete? There's no clear-cut case here, but in the end the boy went back, very upset that he was forced to take up Singapore citizenship. But I think it was fair, because we are investing all this talent and all this money in you. The least you could do is to show your commitment to this country. And I think that's what we need these foreign-born athletes to show, commitment. If they show they're willing to sort of die, Mr. Brinjnath has said that it's not a battlefield, it's not a war, but if they show commitment, if they show courage, if they show fighting spirit at the Olympics, it doesn't matter where they're born, as long as they want to do it for Singapore. I think that's the most important thing, and that's what people have to see.
If it was you, would you go and watch the S-League? Both of you.
Honestly, no.
And then the S-League has been putting in a lot of effort, like bringing in other foreign players. Do you think that's something that will work?
Sorry, does it help our work, or
will that make the S-League more of a draw to local citizens?
Well, if you look at something like the Premier League or the Spanish La Liga, the biggest stars are foreign. Lionel Messi is Argentinian, Cristiano Ronaldo is Portuguese, Didier Drogba is from Ivory Coast. Wayne Rooney is English, but the biggest stars are more often foreign players. So that's exactly what the S-League needs. at the moment. It's just that its foreign players are not very good. So that is the key problem, I think.
Okay, so the most important question now, what do you think the S-League should do to draw the crowd to the games?
To me, it's very simple, and you've got the answer right there. Actually, foreign players. We just need big name foreign players. Obviously, we can't afford someone like Luis Suarez or even someone like Grant Holt or Fernando Torres. That's impossible. That's not within the financial reach of the S League. But if you could get someone like, say, Nicky Butt, who's retired, or Nicholas Anelka, instead of coaching this Chinese team, if you could invite him here for half a season to play for Hougang United, would you go and watch? I would. Or someone like Robbie Fowler, for instance, who was playing in the Australian League for a while. If he played in the S League for a couple of games, I think that would, first of all, raise the league's profile. It might not necessarily raise standards because they're very old, but definitely in terms of publicity and profile, it would help the league.
Players, when you want to bring them in, right, they should at least be a first-rate player. But then people like Itimi Dixon, Agu Kasmir, as compared to the other foreign players, right, they are actually considered third-rate players. Do you think, as like China, they bring in Nicholas Anelka to their country to play, and he's considered a first-rate player, but do you think Singapore should make such a move?
No, I think definitely that's what people want to see. As you said, people want to see stars. You want to see stars. That's what makes us go to a ground. But it takes money. I think the biggest problem with Singapore football, it obviously does not have the money required to pay for these players, and I think that's the key. And it's a little bit of, as you say, keep saying, it's a chicken and egg situation. You need money, you get good players, you get more crowds, you get more money, but you need a starting point. I think Japan did this very well. They started their J League and they got a lot of former players. They paid them a lot of money, and now they don't really need too many foreign stars. They've got a very good league going, but it takes time and it takes a lot of investment.
But what I feel that is Singapore is not making a serious effort. Like, they allowed Grant Holt to leave when he was playing at Hougang. They allowed Grant Holt to leave to the League One teams. And do you think that Singapore should be more conscious of foreign players that are actually very good, that are playing in Singapore, and try to make a conscious effort to try to keep them in Singapore?
In Grant Holt's case, it's not that we wanted him to leave. He wanted to leave. We couldn't stop him if he wanted to, because I believe he had an offer from an English club, and that was the primary reason why he wanted to leave. And I mean, at that point, no offer was made. A better offer came along. You can't blame him for leaving to England. And who's to say, if he had stayed in Singapore, would he have become a Premier League striker? The second highest Englishman scorer in the Premier League this season? He might not. The system here might not support that kind of excellence, at least in football. But when you have someone like, for instance, Feng Tianwei, she came here when she was 18, I think. She got a citizenship when she was 20 or 21 years old. She was nowhere. No one knew of her. I mean, she was doing okay in the youth table tennis circuit, but she was not considered a top talent. She wasn't a rising star or anything. Singapore turned her into a star. And so there will always be hits and misses. For football, it's maybe a little bit more difficult because we obviously can't attract the top football, even the top youngsters to come here to train, because we don't have that sort of legacy here.
Okay, thank you.